All right, we're gonna do this like this since I do not have a projector going, and we're gonna go over our Earth science goals. This in your book is not the chapter 1, it is actually the NOS, like pre-chapter 1, so it's in the very front right after the table of contents. But so we'll start with some key terms that I would like you to know. First of all, I will understand key terms about the scientific method, including how to classify things. If we classify things, what are we doing with them most of the time? We're putting them into a group based on how they are alike or how they are different. We all classify things in our house. Your clothes are probably classified by maybe some people do it by color. I do it with like dress clothes and then like regular old t-shirts for mowing the lawn and stuff like that. If you go into a grocery store, they usually have things classified by like, okay, the meat is over here and it's in the cooler, and then there's cheese and other things that need to be in the cooler, dairy products. And then the chips are all together, and the bread stuff, usually they have like peanut butter and jelly close to the bread stuff because they know that that's probably the most common use for it. So classify things. To measure things, we're gonna have a little lab here coming up where we're gonna just practice measuring some things. We measure lots of stuff in our everyday lives. Making observations, you guys are doing that constantly. You're looking at me with your senses, your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your nose, okay? You can touch things. Those are all observations that can be made. Some of you guys make these observations about your lunch and whether you're going to eat it based on what your senses are telling you. Drawing an inference, we're going to use those observations to come up with an inference. Hypothesis, an educated guess. We'll go through the scientific method again like we did last year. Analyze stuff, look at it and draw some conclusions. Experiment, do some of that. Estimation, when you don't need an exact measurement, you can kind of estimate. Making a prediction. And then models and theories. So these are all things that we'll be doing this chapter. Identify the 4 major areas of scientific studies, so the 4 major sciences. We're going to talk about earth science in general because that's what this class is. It's all everything earth related that is not living. So last year was life science. This year we'll kind of take a look at the other aspect of things. Okay? Use the steps of the scientific method. You've been doing this since you were young, probably 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. We're going to go through that again, hopefully pretty quick. And then use and explain the parts of the microscope. We'll have a little microscope lab. We're not going to use it as much as we did in 7th grade, but we're still going to use it. Just because I know if you take like biology with Breitkreitz or anatomy and those things, you're going to need to do that. Have to figure out magnification of the microscope. Using the metric system. Science is metric, so instead of feet and yards, we're going to use meters and centimeters, and then making a graph and using tables. So these are all things that we're going to do in this first chapter. All right, let me see here. All right, so why don't you get your notes out and start a brand new page. Of course, you probably have just a pretty page. Introduction to Earth Science is your heading, so take a moment and write that. All right. Oops. What is science? Okay, so science isn't isn't always what you think, I would take a moment and write down this definition. Science is a way of observing and studying in order to gain knowledge. Science is a way of observing and studying in order to gain knowledge. Okay, so looking at stuff and figuring it out is basically science. And most of the time when you think of science, you think of dissecting something, or you think of like mixing chemicals and having explosions, and all of that is science. But it's not, that's not it. It's not all of everything. I don't know, no one really watches boxing anymore, but boxing back in the day, they used to call it boxing is the sweet science, meaning that like it's not just two big muscular guys throwing punches at each other, but they have to think about it, they have to figure out, okay, this guy always steps this way when I move this way, so he'll be open and I can hit him in the gut or whatever. So I don't know much about boxing, but there's some strategy and some tactics to it. I believe Mr. Sneathen in the high school teaches political science. So it's basically looking at politics and government and how things are put together. So that is science. You do not need to write this. Specific areas of science attempt to gain knowledge about certain things. Okay, so depending on what science we're talking about, we're going to gain specific knowledge. So the study of life, what would that be? Any guesses? Oh man, you guys are smart. Biology or life science. So I would write this down. I'm probably going to ask you these on a test or a quiz. So life science, you might say, duh. Biology, anything with bio means life. And ology usually means the study of. So the study of life, that makes sense. The study of energy and motion. What do you think that is? Oh, good guess, but not quite. Physics. We're going to touch on that a little bit this spring, where we talk about gravity and force and energy, kinetic potential energy, things like that. That's physics. A lot of times there's a lot of math in physics where you have to figure out the miles per hour and the force and work and things like that. The study of reactions and the composition of matter, so what makes up things. I think this is chapter 3 for us. It is chemistry. So I think in 6th grade you usually do the periodic tables, and you pick an element and you talk about how many protons does it have and how does it react and things like that. That's what we're going to go over here. Study of Earth science, that's what we'll be talking about, with some other things mixed in, some chemistry and some physics and some space stuff. So you should have had written all 4 of those things. We break Earth science down into 4 areas. Okay, I would like you to write this down, these next 4 as well. The study of Earth's changes over time. Geology. Geo means earth. Ology, the study of. So the study of Earth. That would be like volcanoes, earthquakes, plate tectonics, those type of things. Study of weather. I guess it's there already on my picture. Meteorology. If your parents watch the weather, which might annoy you when you're young like this, but it's the study of weather's meteorology. Meteorologists, whoever they're talking about, a lot of them, they say they're belong to the Meteorologist Association. Study of space. What do you think? Write this down, by the way. Astronomy. So the stars, constellations, and stuff like that. That kind of goes with astrology as well. You know, like you've probably heard of like, oh, you're a Leo and you're a Libra and you're a Cancer. Okay, all of those things have to do with the stars, but they're based on some fact. Study of oceans, oceanography. That's what we'll have a chapter of that where we talk about the oceans. We don't talk about the life in the oceans, but we talk about like the different landforms, currents, different densities, things like that. So that is all. There's your notes for today. So make sure you have those up to date, and we'll go on tomorrow.